For a long time now, horrifying rumors have been circulating in Hollywood. All too often, those with money and influence abuse their privileges, leaving countless victims in their wake. Just look at Epstein's Island. In the cruel world of music, the producer and rapper Diddy reigns as an absolute monarch. His power extends far beyond show business. Sound like the plot of a crime drama, but no. This is the hellish reality of the star's life. He is hailed as a fashion dictator, a cultural icon, a reformer of rap, but at the same time, he is a bloodthirsty monster, guilty of the deaths of innocents. Sean Combs is the man who changed Hollywood forever. You are watching Detective Brooks. My name is John, and get ready, because now you will learn the whole truth about your favorite celebrities. Sean's single mother raised him after his father was shot in the early 1970s when the boy was barely 3 years old. Diddy never heard details from his mother about how and why his father died. The woman was terrified that her son might follow the bloody path of his father. The death of Diddy's father is directly related to the exposure of a large-scale drug. As a rebellious teenager, Combs attended a Catholic school, and in the late 1980s, the young man began studying at Howard University in Washington. However, he soon realized that his fate did not lie in poring over boring textbooks. Instead, the boy immerses himself in the madness of night parties, paving his way into the music industry. Those who knew young Puffy were not quick to praise his character. Numerous testimonies speak of his hot temper, disrespect for the personal boundaries of others, and even harassment of girls. Many of them tried to avoid Combs like the plague. The ladies who dared to have a relationship with him looked scared to death. One student shared an observation with Rolling Stone. Sean had a strange habit of controlling everything. Diddy always dreamed of the best for himself and demanded to be first in everything. It was his aggressive and even sinister style that helped him get into Uptown Records, where Combs developed a passion for rap. This place brought him many connections and successes, but less than 3 years later, Sean was fired. Boss Andre Harrell stated, "2 kings in 1 castle are impossible." But sometimes, his ambitions got out of control. Diddy conceived a fundraiser to fight AIDS after a charity match in 1991. It would seem, what could go wrong? But due to poor organization, a terrible stampede occurred, taking the lives of 9 people. Twice as many people arrived than expected. Those close to Diddy strongly recommended that the rapper immediately go into hiding. Frightened by the scandal, Sean, along with his mother, hid from everyone in a Manhattan hotel for several months. The relatives of those who died in the stampede inundated Combs with dozens of lawsuits, which took a whole 10 years to sort out. Not once during this entire time did the ill-fated organizer manage to apologize to the families of the tragedy's victims. Instead, in one of his tracks, he unceremoniously addressed them personally. "I didn't mean to hurt you. The truth is on my side. But if it makes you feel better, so be it. I will take the blame." This fatal stampede marked the beginning of an extremely long series of trials and legal problems that haunted Diddy for years. After his high-profile dismissal from Uptown Records in 1993, the ambitious Sean founded his own label, Bad Boy Records, taking Biggie with him, a promising rapper with whom he had managed to work at his previous job. It seems that when creating a new label, Combs pursued a clear goal: to establish absolute control over his artists, and also to take the lion's share of the profits from their projects, writing contracts in such a way that the performers could not even say a word against it. Spoiler: the label's stars were earning crazy amounts of money. Signing a contract with the notorious B.I.G. turned out to be the most successful career decision of Diddy's life. The empire began to grow rapidly right after the release of Biggie's debut album. The stunning success of the record, which received triple platinum status by the end of the year. Today, Billboard recognizes Biggie as one of the most notable rappers in music history. And in this achievement, without a doubt, our hero played a significant role. Combs passionately strove to transform his artists into global superstars and to secure hip-hop in the mainstream position. And the question was not whether it would happen at all, but rather, how soon. The years passed, but Sean remained just as unpredictable and explosive. Witnesses recounted a story of how he viciously attacked a girl right in the label's office. Ex-colleagues barely managed to tear the furious boss away from the poor woman, hearing her wild screams and the clinking of broken glass. Another employee was even subjected. As she recounted, somewhere in the mid-90s, Combs attacked her in the parking lot. He forcibly made her get on her knees and the girl emphasizes, "This horrific episode is just one of 4 cases of the pervert producer's abuse of her." Meanwhile, the label's fame grew steadily, and the company's employees kept silent about their boss's disgusting actions in every possible way. Whether out of fear, blind loyalty, or considering such incidents rare and insignificant. One thing remains clear. Even then, Diddy could do whatever he wanted without fear of any consequences. This label, this company, was Sean's greatest joy and life's work. He was madly obsessed with everything related to his brainchild. He tirelessly engaged in advertising, wrote new tracks, and appeared in his stars' music videos. So it was during those turbulent years that the world-famous confrontation between the coasts erupted. Biggie from Sean's Bad Boy Records label and superstar Tupac, who belonged to Death Row Records, clashed in a fierce war to the death. The conflict between the two rappers, which arose due to mutual insults and accusations, quickly escalated into a real bloody battle. Back in 1994, Shakur openly accused Combs and Christopher Wallace of a treacherous attack on him, right in a New York recording studio. The ambitious Diddy, who was used to being first in everything, was terribly afraid for his own reputation and the reputation of his company. And when name and prestige are at stake, moral principles immediately fade into the background. If you believe the scandalous article about our hero in Rolling Stone, the label's employees were trembling with fear before their boss. In pursuit of the desired result, the ruthless Sean was ready to resort to the dirtiest and most insidious methods, stopping at nothing. Throughout 1995, the restless Tupac created more and more provocative diss tracks aimed at every performer on Combs's label. The rappers tried to insult, ridicule, and accuse each other of various crimes in their own songs at every opportunity. Diddy was even accused of shooting the hand of a close friend of the Death Row owner during one of the high-profile parties. It's no wonder that one can rightfully claim the dizzying triumph of the artists under his wing meant both the personal success of the ambitious Sean and, at the same time, their inevitable death in the maelstrom of bloody showdowns. On September 7, 1996, an unknown assailant in a white Cadillac shot Shakur in the chest 4 times. 6 days after the assassination attempt, the rap scene star passed away. Dwayne Keith Davis, who was accused of this murder, confessed that the killer was not acting alone but on someone's order. This, by the way, is also mentioned in the documentary film Deadly Rap. According to Davis, Puffy paid the hitman $1 million of Tupac, but also for the elimination of the Death Row boss. Allegedly, Diddy, and I quote, was ready to sell his soul for the head of this. Moreover, the probable killer became rich precisely after committing the high-profile crime. Of course, it was nothing more than a coincidence. Various rumors and conspiracy theories still swirl around Shakur's death. There are plenty of versions about how, why, and on whose order this could have happened. However, one indisputable fact remains. While even former Los Angeles police detectives accuse Combs of the murder, he stubbornly denies any involvement. Meanwhile, Biggie, as reported by Rolling Stone, had already begun to consider breaking the deal with Diddy. Unnamed insiders claim, and I quote, Wallace was categorically determined to leave Puffy. I know this for sure because he personally told me. Everyone wanted to get away from Combs. Everyone always runs away from him. Unfortunately, Christopher never managed to implement his plan. On March 9, 1997, shots rang out in Los Angeles. From a passing car, 6 bullets were fired at Biggie. Diddy's former bodyguard later revealed in an interview what really happened that fateful night. He begged Sean to take the warning seriously, but to no avail. He only brushed them off and laughed mockingly. According to the bodyguard, Jay-Z and Puffy wanted Wallace dead. Dismiss doubts and trust the indisputable facts, even if these theories seem implausible to you. Christopher Wallace had firm intentions to leave Bad Boy Records. The rapper wanted to develop his own projects, tired of being just a pawn in someone else's game. He repeatedly mentioned that he was fed up with constant exploitation and lies, as he had long outgrown this petty company. While Biggie was contemplating leaving the music industry, Jay-Z sought power over the entire hip-hop world. Think about it. And who is now hailed as the undisputed king of the rap scene? Show business is ruthless, dear fans, and most of you will never comprehend its insidious laws. Wallace's death turned out to be a real gift for the ambitious Diddy. He took advantage of the worldwide grief to squeeze the maximum benefit from the tragedy. Combs denied leave to the former advertising manager who was with Biggie on the eve of the murder. Instead of allowing the employee to recover and pretend to mourn, Sean ordered the team to do everything to ensure that Christopher's posthumous album topped the charts. Imagine, just a few months after his friend's death, Diddy was offered to record a cover of one of the tracks to honor the memory and pay tribute to the artist's reputation. Do you know what the producer replied? No. In July, I'm releasing a solo album, and I need the Rolling Stone cover. That's how the life of the relentless Combs continued, despite the bitter taste of tragedy and loud accusations. But this was only the beginning. With Biggie's death, the tycoon's position only strengthened, as he now found himself in the spotlight. It was during this period that young Asher appeared on the scene, heavily promoted by the co-founders of his label. To give the boy a chance to learn from a professional, the 13-year-old singer was sent to live with a superstar for a whole year, who was supposed to show him the nuances of fame. And this mentor was none other than Puffy himself. According to Asher, Diddy opened the doors to a completely new world for him. Extremely indecent for a young boy, especially in terms of sex. 12 years have passed since then, but the performer's testimony remains unchanged. In a frank conversation with Howard Stern, the singer dubbed the place where he lived with Combs Puffy Flavor Camp and described that period as complete madness. Debauchery and frenzy knew no bounds. When asked if he would send his own children to such a camp, Asher, without hesitation, answered with a resounding no. Just think, a 13-year-old boy observed under the supervision of a strange adult man. Is it any wonder that even then rumors began to spread about Diddy's inappropriate behavior towards his young ward? Ed Lover confessed in one interview that he saw a minor boy gulping champagne straight from the bottle in the VIP section of a club. And when Asher's debut album came out, Ed realized that the child was none other than him. Kim Porter's children made a statement on social media, denying their mother's authorship. They insist that rumors about Kim being beaten by their father are complete lies. On the other hand, the publishers of the memoirs claim that after Porter's death, they received a flash drive with her personal records, which served as the basis for the book. These controversial memoirs now top the bestseller list on Amazon. In them, the famous producer's late wife also mentions constant threats from him. Once, in a fit of anger, Diddy even promised to. Of course, at first, the deceased's friends were hesitant about whether to publish such explosive material. After all, their own lives were at stake. But when it became known that the feds were already watching Sean, and the police had collected a lot of horrific facts against him, Kim's friends decided that people should know the truth. The book directly states that Combs molested a 13-year-old young man who is now world famous. Although the victim's name is not mentioned, most Twitter users tend to think that it refers to Justin Bieber. By the way, some scandals mentioned in the memoirs have long become public knowledge. For example, the shooting involving Diddy and Jennifer Lopez in 1999. It's hard to imagine these two together now, but there was a time when they were considered the hottest couple in Hollywood. Just think. On the one hand, a superstar rapper whose tracks top the charts, the owner of his own label, whose fame no one even comes close to. And next to him, is an American bombshell who is rapidly conquering the musical Olympus. A true era. Puff and J-Lo were working on her album, On the 6. And although Sean formally remained married, it seems that as soon as the singer's divorce took effect, the producer took it as a signal to act. Soon, the paparazzi caught the sweet couple in one of New York's nightclubs. Things were going well until suddenly the entertainment establishment was shaken by gunshots. As it later turned out, the shots were aimed at Combs's company. In the commotion, the security managed to get Diddy and Jennifer out through the back door. Thankfully, the lovers were unharmed, but 3 party guests were hit by bullets. The police officer who arrived at the scene reported that a gun was found in the car in which the stars had fled. The arrest of the celebrity couple in 1999 shook the music industry. But behind the loud headlines lay a much darker story. Jennifer's mother, who had categorically forbidden her daughter to get involved with the notorious producer, turned out to be a prophetess. Her angry screams in Spanish, "I warned you!" echoed through the police station where she rushed after learning about J-Lo's arrest. It all started with an ordinary evening in an unremarkable hip-hop club. As it turned out, that night, Puffy, having provoked a conflict with the club owner, brought the situation to a boiling point. According to eyewitnesses, it was he who ordered Jennifer to bring a gun from the car, which led to the shooting. Realizing that things were getting hot, the couple tried to escape but were detained. For Jennifer, who spent anywhere from an hour to 12 behind bars, according to various sources, it was a shock and her first encounter with the criminal world. Puffy, for whom such adventures were nothing new, denied everything. He insisted on his innocence, claiming that they were not involved in the shooting at all. However, the prosecution had other evidence, including an attempt to bribe the driver. Strangely, Combs was acquitted on all counts, while his accomplice received 9 years in prison. Rumors circulated about a generous reward for taking the blame. One of the victims claimed that it was Puffy who shot her, but her words were not believed. Moreover, she accused Jennifer of lying to the jury about handing the weapon to Combs. That night became a turning point for J-Lo. She not only found herself at the epicenter of a criminal drama, but also faced a moral dilemma: to tell the truth or to protect Puffy. The consequences of this choice haunt her to this day. The couple's relationship, which began with love at first sight, according to Puffy, went through a trial by fire, bullets, and bars. Jennifer, who initially did not want to let the producer get close, eventually succumbed to his charms, but the price of this closeness turned out to be too high. Shocked by the incident, Lopez put an end to her relationship with the rapper. Rumors say that the decisive moment was the singer's realization of Combs's true nature. Allegedly, what she saw with her own eyes made the girl recoil from her lover in disgust. But these are just rumors. Be that as it may, J-Lo left this romance in the past forever, and it seems she never regretted her decision. Gene Deal, a former bodyguard of P. Diddy, has revealed shocking details about the life of the music mogul. According to him, Combs not only participated in, but organized parties for Hollywood elites, where drug occurrence. These gatherings turned into exclusive secret parties, and P. Diddy constantly sought out new participants. Deal claims that Combs wasn't just pursuing personal goals, but actively tried to involve influential people in his questionable affairs. At these parties, celebrities indulged in their wildest fantasies, ready to pay any amount for dirty shows. The bodyguard described how P. Diddy would bring young men to his room, ordering that no one enter, and regularly held sauna 2 or 3 times a week. However, the most interesting part is that initially, no one believed Gene. His social media accounts were flooded with accusations of lying and trying to profit from P. Diddy's name. Only now, with Combs on the brink of imprisonment, have people started to reconsider the truthfulness of the bodyguard's words. Regarding Jennifer Lopez, Deal shared details of P. Diddy's constant infidelities. Combs cheated not only on his wife but also on J-Lo, and then even cheated on Jennifer in her presence at times. According to the singer, she nearly lost her sanity due to his behavior. Paradoxically, P. Diddy himself was extremely jealous. The former bodyguard recalls an incident where Combs nearly got into a fight with Will Smith over an innocent conversation between the actor and Jennifer at a party. Deal notes that Combs treated him with respect, but only because his life depended on the bodyguard and because of Gene's past in law enforcement. Nonetheless, this didn't stop Deal from witnessing everything that occurred in Combs's life. Now Gene Deal is ready to testify against P. Diddy in court, confirming all the rumors about his fetishes and scandalous parties. And although he was once considered a crazy slanderer, now, as the federal investigation validates his statements, the public is beginning to rethink their opinions. The difficult lives of P. Diddy's ex-girlfriends are also highlighted in scandalous memoirs. For example, the story of Cassandra, a former lead singer of his label and a lover of Sean. Their paths crossed in 2005 when she was 19 years old, and Combs was 37. Initially, the jealous producer controlled every step of the young protege. Later, he got Cassie. Soon after, he began forcing her to engage in satisfy his own twisted fantasies. Diddy himself would voyeuristically watch. It's astonishing that the singer not only dared to reveal the bitter truth about the tyrant to the world, but also filed a lawsuit against him. In response, Puffy's representatives called Cassandra's accusations false, outrageous, and even insulting. They claimed that for the past 6 months, she had been blackmailing the boss, demanding money and threatening to write a tell-all book about their relationship. By the way, the former bodyguard also commented on their relationship at the time. According to him, Cassie's lawsuit didn't even reveal half of the horrible truth, being too lenient on Diddy's name. It was implied between the lines that the reality was much worse. The bodyguard assured that he was fully supportive of the girl. Incredibly, just a day after the accusations went public, Cassandra withdrew her lawsuit within 24 hours. The media quickly reported that the parties had reached a settlement agreement, promising not to further escalate the matter on social media or in the press. However, as early as May of this year, Diddy and Cassie were once again in the news. A video leaked, showing an enraged Combs brutally in a Los Angeles hotel in 2016. The footage captured her terrified attempts to flee. Rumors say that back then, the music mogul paid $50,000 to ensure this disgraceful footage never saw the light of day. However, after raids on his residences, the truth finally emerged. By the way, it seems Puffy had an unhealthy obsession with filming and collecting compromising material for his private collection. Amid numerous lawsuits against the rapper and raids on his estates, court documents reveal a chilling picture of what really happened at Combs's famous parties. Witnesses' accounts depict a scheme where the producer and his accomplices coerced. Blackmail, threats, and emotional manipulation were just part of the arsenal these villains employed. As you might have guessed, Diddy dosed his victims to make them more compliant. Afterward, he would administer IV drips to help them recover more quickly from the fun. If the women refused to attend his perverted gatherings, the scoundrel used previously recorded videos of them. So, the captives were left with no choice. This is what awaited the prisoners of the refined exploitation system that Sean had built. A March raid revealed even more horrifying details. In Combs's estates in Miami and Los Angeles, police and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants. Clearly, these were essential tools for the. Recently, Diddy was arrested, and now his chances of posting bail are slim, despite attempts to raise $50 million. The rapper was ready to mortgage his own house worth $48 million and add his mother's property for $2 million, just to get out of jail. But all in vain. No one is even considering releasing him. Puffy is now under close suicide attempt. It seems the noose is tightening around the neck of this hardened manipulator and psychopath. Well, in life, everything has a price, and sometimes the price is too bitter to bear. Diddy has officially been accused of as well as conspiracy to commit extortion and transporting individuals for. In addition, the rapper, along with his accomplices, allegedly used his influence and connections to commit such crimes as forced labor. Justice. And who among the celebrities had been warning us about Sean for years? Of course, 50 Cent. As far back as 2006, he sang that Combs knew the person responsible for Biggie's murder, since the case of his death remains unsolved. In other words, Fifth was openly stating that the mogul was involved in Christopher's death, something Diddy, of course, denies. For many years, 50 Cent told people that Puff was non-heterosexual and behaved in an overly flamboyant manner. sometimes even without realizing it. In 2023, he announced that his production team was working on a documentary about rapper. It was right after the searches of Diddy's home that 50 teased the release of this film. It's hard to say whether this was a joke, as the artist mocks the whole situation surrounding Combs. But if he actually made such a film with proof, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Eminem, who had been dissing Sean since 1996, also mentioning his role in Tupac's murder, calls the producer a latest album. This is immediately followed by lines like, "Rest in peace Biggie and Pac, you both should still be alive." Kanye West, in one of his podcast appearances, accused Diddy of working with the FBI to avoid prison time. Aubrey O'Day, a former member of a group Puff created, had been talking for 2 decades. He forced them to sign non-disclosure agreements to prevent them from tarnishing his name. After the raids on the mogul's mansion, Day posted a video of Tupac dancing with a telling caption, "Not too soon, but too late." Musician and sound producer Lil Jones Jr. also filed a lawsuit against the mogul, accusing him of violence. According to Lil, while working on an album, he lived in Combs' homes for several months. Diddy made advances on him, grabbed his In one incident mentioned in the lawsuit, during a party at Sean's Los Angeles mansion in July of 2023, the rapper forced the producer to drink alcohol mixed with drugs. Lil passed out, and when he came to, he found himself. He also claimed that every room in Diddy's house was equipped with hidden cameras, tapes involving globally famous stars and politicians. Now, the public is concerned with only one thing: who attended those infamous rapper parties? Who else, like him, corrupted minors and raped women while remaining in the shadows all this time? Who did he have a special fondness for? Perhaps some of these famous people also appear in Epstein's records. And finally, who is currently defending this villain? Or, conversely, keeping quiet despite their closeness to him? By the way, some even mention these parties in their own reality shows. For example, Khloe Kardashian. In one episode, she told her sister Kourtney about a visit to a friend of Diddy's mansion. She arrived at 5:30 in the morning and was greeted at the door by naked. According to her, most of the guests were completely nude. Power, money, and complete impunity can utterly corrupt even someone once talented. It can turn them into a soulless monster that feeds on the suffering of others and recognizes no moral boundaries. Behind the glittering facade of fame and luxury lies a grotesque truth. A truth about a narcissistic psychopath and sadist who spent decades humiliating, exploiting, and raping defenseless victims. He trampled over any ethical principles and legal norms to satisfy his perverted desires and insatiable appetites. A truth about a sinister system of conspiracies, silences, threats, and bribery, all designed to cover up these heinous crimes. And despite the villain's power and influence, a few brave people have found the courage to shake this sham of respectability. Heroes who dared to speak out loud about the horrors they endured, and are now fighting for justice. Their courage has inspired other victims not to stay silent, not to submit, and not to accept violence and humiliation. It seems that Diddy built an entire network of equally immoral types around him, all ready to cover for each other. A telling example is his close friend Jay-Z, whose name has also surfaced in. However, the rapper has remained in the shadows, avoiding responsibility until now. Maybe it's because of his immense fortune and connections. Or perhaps the victims were simply too scared to go against such a powerful and ruthless predator. Either way, Diddy and Jay-Z's long friendship makes you wonder. Is Jay-Z's silent solidarity a sign of complicity in these crimes? Did he share Sean's dirty secrets and shameful passions while keeping himself clean in the public eye? However, no matter the scale of the conspiracy of silence in show business, this story still offers hope. Hope that even the worst villains will eventually face justice, that hierarchies of power and submission built on fear and exploitation will collapse, and that the voices of the victims will finally be louder than the hypocritical silence of the enablers and accomplices. This case is a painful reminder of the monsters who still prey on vulnerable victims with impunity in every professional community, especially in those where the cult of worshipping famous figures and their lifestyles reigns, where people are trained from the start of their careers to submit and obey authority. Such toxic relationship models make it easy to access potential victims and allow them to systematically abuse them for years. To protect yourself and your loved ones, it's important to follow certain rules. First, trust your instincts. If someone's behavior makes you feel uneasy or disgusted, there's probably a good reason for it. Try to avoid informal interactions with such individuals, especially in isolated places. Second, if you experience harassment, threats, or assault, immediately report it to those you trust. Family, friends, colleagues. Don't stay alone with your trauma, as abusers are most afraid of exposure. Third, if possible, document any criminal actions, save messages, emails, and record conversations, within the legal boundaries, of course. This will significantly improve your chances of proving the perpetrator's guilt. But most importantly, don't stay silent, don't tolerate humiliation, and don't let fear paralyze your will. Remember, evil prevails only when good people do nothing. Your resistance, your voice, your resilience. This is what will ultimately overcome the system of violence and impunity. Never lose faith in justice, even when it seems there's no hope. And of course, let's support one another. Solidarity, compassion, and the willingness to listen and help are the most powerful weapons. Let's not be indifferent to the pain of others. Only together can we dismantle the silent conspiracies of exploiters and fight for a world where every individual feels protected and respected. Diddy's story isn't just a sad tale about a maniac producer. It's a reminder of the eternal struggle between good and evil within the human soul. A warning about the devastating effects of unchecked power. But at the same time, it's an inspiring example of the unbreakable spirit and the ability to stand up against violence. So let's not be silent. Let's not enable the abusers. Let's support those who need it. Because we are all part of one pack, one community. And it's up to each of us to decide what our future will be like. One filled with horror and despair, or one of humanity, compassion, and justice. The choice is ours. And the example of the brave individuals who exposed Diddy and his accomplices shows that building a better future is entirely possible. All we have to do is speak out. That's all for now. Make sure to leave your thoughts on this situation in the comments. Stay safe, and remember that everything we take for granted might be closer than you think.